Meena Alexander teaches at Hunter College and the Graduate Center. She is the author of a memoir and 8 collections of poetry, most recently, Birthplace with Buried Stones, a book of journeys.
I'd like to start with a poem that I wrote when I became an American. In other words, I took the exam. You have to take an exam and pass it. And I was terrified I would fail, so I mugged up very hard for the exam. And this poem is called Experimental Geography. Everything about the railway station was erased, including the woman who was carrying a child with a patch of blood on his shirt. I became all at once an American. This is a sentence very hard to translate. One is singing, two says, one flows, you cannot know how things go, no prophecy. Who can gainsay a bird singing in a suitcase? She was 7 and started praying as hard as she could. By her pillow moths flew. In the lemon tree a nest of honeybees grew. An overdose of caravans caused her hair to fall out. Our Father who art on earth, Lord of sorrows and solar eruptions, how many stars to hold the flag up? How many stripes to sink it? How many questions without answers? Who becomes president if both he and the vice president die? The patch of blood on a child's shirt becomes a bird with no beak. When the train arrived, the refugees, for strictly speaking, that is what they were, had no voice left in their throats. Their clothing was quite dry. In spite of everything, there was much singing. I'll read one more poem, and this is called Question Time. Some years ago, I was giving a reading in Colorado, and it was this big room with glass windows at the back, and you could see the Rocky Mountains. And I was very excited because I'd never seen the Rocky Mountains before. And then after I finished, a woman put up her hand from the back of the room and asked me a question that took my breath away. And I just stood there like an idiot. There was nothing I could say till some words came out of my mouth. And then maybe a year and a half later, I made this poem. Question Time. I remember the scarred spine of mountains the moon slips through. Foxfire in a stump, bushes red with blisters. Her question, a woman in a red sweatshirt, hand raised in a crowded room. What use is poetry? Above us, lights flickered, something wrong with the wiring. I turned and saw the moon whirl in water, the Rockies struck with a mauve light, sea creatures cut into sky foliage. In the shadow of a shrub, once you and I brushed lips and thighs, dreamt of a past that frees its prisoners. Standing apart, I looked at her and said, "We have poetry, so we do not die of history." And I had no idea what I meant.